Hello everybody, it's Sabre, and yes, I am back for another D&D breakdown, and this is the final subclass of course, the series we've been going through, the Tadori Reborn series. So these are a collection of all the subclasses that's from the world of Exandria. Of course, that's the Critical Role world with Matt Mercer and all them. So this is the final subclass of that series. This is going to be the Blood Wizard, or Blood Mage, however you want to call it. Again, we're going back into the blood thing area again, so if you're a little squeamish around this kind of thing, you can just avoid this video if you'd like, but if you want to learn a little bit more of the last and final subclass for this book, go ahead and we'll dive in. So, without further ado, we're going to pull up the Wizard Blood Magic. Considered taboo, of course, by many societies and magic practitioners, the use of blood magic, or hemocraft, is a rare art that harnesses the latent power of the creature's vitality to fuel and amplify the caster's own capabilities while manipulating and weakening the bodies of enemies from the inside. Some of the more macabre mages seeking to empower their arcane pursuits turn to hemocraft as a means of bolstering their spells, giving their own lifeblood to reach new heights of frightening magic prowess. Blood magic, once under the sole purview of the cleric orders, has seen spread throughout Exandria. Blood magic does carry a bad reputation in Taldori, even though its power can be used for much more than just evil intent. Again, we are going back to another subclass. This is the whole theme of this book, of taking good with the bad. I am sacrificing something bad on myself to do something good for the party or against a creature that I'm attacking, stuff like that. This is the whole theme of this book, of doing something really bad that could hurt me to make it something really good. And this, of course, with blood magic, on any game or any platform you're on, usually that's the case. And we go right into our first thing, which is blood channeling. This is the arcane tradition. So when you choose this arcane tradition, you are able to use your own depleted life essence to channel your magic abilities. Whenever your current hit points are below the hit point maximum, you can use your own body as an arcane focus. When casting a wizard spell that requires a costly material component, you can forego the component needs by taking 1d10 necrotic damage per 10 gold pieces of cost for the component minimum of 1d10. So in other words, if the component was less than 50 gold worth, you're still going to take the 1d10 necrotic damage. This damage cannot be reduced in any way, and if this damage reduces you to 0 hit points, the spell fails, but the spell slot is not expended. So in other words, you do kill yourself, or you get knocked out, and you start doing death saves. But you do not expend the spell slot. So if you're not paying attention, you try to take the risk. You have 5 HP left. You end up rolling a 6 on the die. You do pass out and keel over, but the spell slot would not be used for that purpose. Now, on the flip side of things, if you want to cast a spell and it costs 500 gold pieces worth of materials, that's 10 times this amount. So you're going to roll a 10d10 necrotic damage roll. I don't know many wizards that will survive a 10d10 for a 500 gold cost spell. I actually didn't look up and see what spell would cost that much. But in general, 10d10 necrotic damage that it cannot be avoided or reduced in any way to a wizard, yeah, you're not having a good day. So this is minor stuff, but besides that, most DMs don't really. No, most of your nicer DMs, I will say, are not going to make you have to any spell component that doesn't use up the spell component itself. Most DMs are not going to charge it for you anyways. So this spell on most tables is not going to deal that 1d10 damage. In other words, if you use, like, say, tongues, which you have to use a ziggurat in order to use it. Well, that ziggurat thing, or whatever it is not going to get used up when you cast that spell to make the person be able to speak in any languages or understand any languages. This is more for, like, say, Pearl of Power, which is a 100 gold piece pearl. So in that case, you would do so 100 gold piece. So that would be like a 2d10 necrotic damage. That's not too bad. So this is more for those because that pearl will be used up for that purpose. Not pearl power because the magic on, but pearls as in like for casting alacrity and stuff like that. Like those ones where the item gets used up. This is what the spell is more meaning towards. Not so much like the spells that you don't use the component up or anything. But you can still use your body as an arcane focus on like your spell book. So that also is in turn also in this ability. But that's not the only thing we get at level 2. Also at level 2, we also get Sanguine Burst. You learn how to weave your life force into a spell you cast, boosting its intensity at the cost of your vitality. When you roll damage for a spell you've cast of 1 first level or higher, you can choose to take necrotic damage equal to the spell's level to re-roll a number of damage dice up to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1. This damage cannot produce in any way, and you must use new rolls. Okay, so this is actually pretty good. And for example, we're going to go to our handy dandy 5e tools, and of course the ever-loving Fireball spell. So Fireball, this level 3 that we have here, so it's a 3rd level. So you can choose to take necrotic damage equal to the spell's level. So it will take 3 necrotic damage in order to re-roll up to our intelligence modifier. So we have an 8d6 fire damage. So if we have intelligence of say 18, that's a +4 for our intelligence modifier. So we can roll up to half the dice, so 4 of the dice can be re-rolled. So say you roll like say 4 ones on that roll, you can pick up those 4 ones and re-roll them again to have a much better outcome. And the only thing that's going to cost you is 3 necrotic damage. That's a really good trade-off. Okay. Any means. So I mean I know, and it's like a luck feat almost. Like, you take damage in order to have, like, a luck feat where you can just reroll your damage if you want. That's really powerful. I really, really like this particular Sanguine Burst ability. I think this is the only, like, real good one, actually, to be honest, on this whole entire class. That might actually make it worth it. But we'll go over and see how good this is versus the other wizard options when we get through the rest of this. But that's basically how it works. So you take 3 necrotic damage to reroll 4 or even 5 if you have 20 intelligence by then. If you're lucky enough to have 20 intelligence at level 2. Or would be like level, what is it, like 3, 4, 5, around there. But yeah, so rerolling dice for new damage is always awesome. So take the 3 damage, you can do very well with that. Next on level 6, we have Blood of Mutual Suffering. When a creature you can see hits you with an attack, you can choose use your reaction to bind your vitality to the attacker and force them to share your pain. The attacker takes damage equal to the damage you took. This feature cannot be used against constructs or undead. You can use this feature once per short or long rest. And level 14, you can actually use this feature twice. Okay, so if, say, a creature hits you with an attack, now generally, you're going to use your reaction to use the shield spell, which, if you notice from my series on Friday Night Dice every 7 p.m. Eastern on Fridays, we use a shield a lot. And that shield gives you a +5 to your armor class. Now, if the creature is going to hit higher than that +5 shield, this is going to give you the other option to reflect it, well, not really reflect, but have that creature take that damage as well. Now, because you can use this 1 or 2 times when you get to level 14, you want to save this to when you really get cracked on the side of the head. Of course, at level 6, you still, again, you're a wizard. There's that meme where you just die to 1d4 damage to anything. So you're not going to really have much of a health pool to begin with. But taking, like, say, if you take a huge shot from a giant for, say, 30 damage, all right? having that 30 damage also hit that attacker that just hits you as well, that's a subsequent amount of damage, and that's more damage than what most characters are going to be dealing, especially at level 6. So you want to save it for the really high damage cost that's going to be hitting you, and you also want to save this for an attack that you couldn't block with a shield. So those are the two caveats to this that you want to keep in mind when you try to use this ability. Now, it can't be used against constructs or undead. That's because they don't have blood in them usually. So you're going to see that throughout this class, not being able to use it against those two particular targets. Level 10, we have Glyph of Hemorrhaging. When you damage a creature with a spell, you can choose to curse that creature for 1 minute. While cursed in this way, whenever a creature is hit by an attack, it takes an extra 1d6 necrotic damage. At the end of each of the creature's turns, it can make a Constitution saving throw against your spell DC, ending the curse on a success. This feature cannot be used against creatures that are undead and constructs again, and once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a long or short rest. Okay, so, sorry about that. So, this is kind of like the Warlock curse ability, like kind of a Hexblade's curse ability, where you deal an extra 1d6 damage to your target when you curse it. The only difference with this one is, because this is a level 10, it's a lot higher level, is that it's whenever the creature is hit by an attack. Not limited by number of attacks in a turn, and it's only limited by it making a Constitution saving throw. So say you cast your spell, and you want to curse this creature on top of that. It's automatically cursed. It cannot make a save for it. It can only make a save at the end of its own turn. So as say, okay, I curse you, and next person's up on the initiation order. Well, the next person on the initiation order might be your fighter or your barbarian. Well, they have like 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 attacks, depending on how they build the character. So say they have like 3 attacks. Now, each of those attacks hit, that's an extra 1d6 necrotic damage on each of those attacks that character's doing. And it's still not even be that creature's turn to order save against it. So it could have another person go after you for another 1 or 2 more attacks. For an extra, also 1d6. So by the time you're done with this, whether your spell hit, and then you say your fighter hits 3 times, and you have a rogue hit once after that, this creature took an extra 5d6, about 5d6 necrotic damage before it can make a Constitution saving throw. And if it fails that Constitution saving throw, now that creature is going to take even more 1d6 damage every time it's hit with an attack. So this can add up considerably. Now, you can only use this one feature for a short or long rest. So this would be against the boss. You want to put this on the boss character because you can only use it once. Or whatever priority target on a smaller fight, because you can get this back on the short rest, much like the Warlock ability. The only thing, though, is it's Constitution based. Constitution is generally a high stat on a lot of creatures in D&D, so we'll have a chance to save. Although with your spell DC, based on your intelligence modifier, because you're a wizard, usually that modifier is going to be considerably high. At least it should be. It should be like 16, 17, 18, right around that stage. So it will be a tough save still to make against that DC. But yeah, this could add up to 5d6 damage. I mean, you're almost looking at another fireball's worth of damage, and it's necrotic damage. Again, going back to what I said before about another subclass, some creatures, because they're evil, you're fighting evil things, necrotic damage sometimes is immunity or like or just at least a reduction to. So sometimes necrotic damage is the best kind of damage you're going to do against things. But because this doesn't affect undead and constructs, basically you're going to put it on things and it's probably going to affect them. Because those things usually have the reduction to them. So yeah. And last but not least, at level 14, we also have Thicker Than Water. Oh, I don't want to forget the example that was given in the book below me. That is Honor Kanebari. It is a female tiefling below me. So that's the example I gave in the book. So I just want to give a shout out to that. Once again, going back to thicker than water, the blood that flows through your veins is empowered with arcane vigor that mends wounds and help you preserve your life. Whenever a spell or magical effect causes you to regain hit points, you regain an additional number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. In addition, while you are concentrating on a spell, okay, let's go back to that. Equal to your proficiency bonus. So at level 14, your proficiency bonus should be a +5. So if somebody wants to use, say, Cure Wounds, for lack of a better thing to pick, you get additional +5 HP to the roll. In addition, while you are concentrating on a spell, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. So basically, at level 14, you turn into a barbarian without having to rage. The bear, that's regular barbarian. Which again would help because again you're sacrificing health to you're sacrificing health to re-roll dice in order to make it do more damage. You're taking 1d10 necrotic damage every time you use 50 gold worth of components that you might not have, and you want to have the thing go do what it wants to do anyways. So again, this is mitigating some of the damage you're taking because you're actually doing damage to yourself in order to empower and do these other things with this class. Again, we're going back to the theme of the book, people. We're going back to I'm doing bad things to me or my party in order to have a better effect, better result that I'm going to affect my enemies. This is the whole theme of this book and all these subclasses in general is bad stuff making it good things. Now, what do we think about the class? It's got some good points. I mean, is this going to be better than a divination wizard that you can roll 2 portent dice and you can use them anytime you want to replace rolls? Probably not. I mean, it's not going to be the divination wizard in that respect. But it does have some good features where you can replace a pearl or maybe the components of your familiar and take a little bit of necrotic damage in order to bring your familiar back and stuff like that. Especially is good when you only have to take a number of damage equal to your level in order to reroll dice for damage dice. This is the key ability, I think, on this whole entire subclass, is being able to reroll low damage rolls on like Fireball or Lightning Bolt or something like that, and being able to consistently do higher damage with those rolls. That's what the main theme of this particular subclass is, which does make this pretty strong because, again, you're replacing rolls. So it's kind of like the Divination Wizard where you're kind of replacing your rolls. It's just you're still risking the roll of the dice for rolling on ones again. But if you're rolling a bunch of 1s and 2s and you're re-rolling them on a 1d6 or whatever other die roll is going to be, chances are you're going to have a higher result every single time. All right? So that takes care of the Wizard Blood Magic subclass. And of course, it also takes care of this book, the Tadori Reborn. I'm going to flip through it some more and see what other subclasses that might not be in the whole 5e thing. It does talk about other stuff like the Clasp and the Ashari and like other, the Lexium Scholars and the Myrids and some cultist stuff. Whitestone, it talks about Whitestone if you're watching the series. Whitestone Rifle Corps, where actually the Percy actually distributes the guns and they actually have a group of people like that. If you want me to go through that stuff, let me know in the comments below and I can look into that. So yeah, we got through all the subclasses. Once again, I think of all the subclasses, I really, really liked the Sorcerer, the Rune Child one. That has a lot of stuff for it, either for a theme, for backstory, for what it does. I mean, that's going to be, I think I really like that one. So of all the subclasses I did, Cobalt Soul Monk's pretty interesting, but it's really going to be hard with the stat distribution, having to go into wisdom, intelligence, dexterity, and constitution. There's a lot of stats you got to cover in order for that to really work, especially if your DM's not going to do that. But that's, again, go back and watch that video. But I think the Sorcerer Rune Child is probably my favorite one of this whole series, of this whole book so far. All right, guys. Well, once again, I am Sabre. Again, I hope you enjoy this series. I'll have more series out there for you in the future. And again, till then, See you later, and thank you, and have a good day.